you a werewolf?
I am not a werewolf, but I am your host, Scott Odell. I'm joined by host Jeff Gars,
Hey, Scott, werewolf here.
host Peter Evans,
Hello.
and special guest host Caleb Mishu.
How you doing, Scott? Good to see you.
Does that mean werewolves win?
I think so. We overpowered them, Jeff.
I think you've lost like the last several games.
Yeah, I didn't want to do the joke again. I've done it at least twice now. So.
Well, I am not an assassin.
Doesn't matter.
I think Peter and I own Assassins vs. Kings from that Steam bundle or whatever it was, the Humble Bundle with all the board games.
That's right. I haven't even looked at it yet.
I was going to get it, but I already owned most of them.
Well, for $1, you could have got Assassins, whatever, Kings vs. Assassins, which I think is I don't actually know, but I think that's a deduction game.
Yeah, I haven't looked too thoroughly into it, but yeah, I believe you're right.
Well, let's talk about what we've been playing, but first, let's talk about Omaha Gives. Caleb, do you want to highlight Omaha Gives?
I'm so glad you mentioned that, Scott. There you go. So on Wednesday, May 20th, is our biggest fundraiser of the year for Spielbound, the nonprofit. For 24 hours, we've got the best chance of, when we raise funds donated through Omaha Gives, of actually getting additional funds and donated at that time through all the different contests that they have. Yeah, yes, just a suggestion, right, Scott?
I've Google Pilling, yeah.
You can actually make a donation now, and all of those donations start being collected on the 20th to trigger some of those possible funds. And to say the last 4 years we've done this, every year we've done it, we've gotten at least $500 to $1,000 extra bonus for doing this through Omaha Gives. So we don't like to advertise too much about fundraising, but this is the one time a year that we do it. And I know everything's a little different with the pandemic and everything, and everyone's looking for money and such. So every little bit does make a difference. For two things. So one, if you do the minimum donation, I think it's $10 or $20, it increases the chances we can get some of those extra money. And second, we've got some anonymous donors that are matching dollar to dollar for up to $5,000 that are donated to Spielbound that day.
Wow.
So, I mean, if you want to donate $1,000, $2,000 in one go, I highly recommend just writing a check outside of Omaha Gives. But anything lower than that, it goes a lot further through their site.
And people have been asking us how to support Spielbound and or the nonprofit, and Omaha Gives is the best way to support the nonprofit. Yeah. And then for the for-profit right now, we're still doing curbside pickup where you can come pick up a coffee, drink, and we'll bring it out to your car. But one of the other things you can do is go to our website, spielbound.com. And then all of our board games are on the retail site. So for the listeners, I'm showing people on the video, how to do it. And then you can go find a game that interests you and you can buy it, and you can either have it shipped to your house. We have shipping now, or you can come pick it up.
Look at that. Still have copies of Food Chain Magnate.
Yeah, Food Chain's awesome.
And there was like 4 copies left of The Crew I saw the other day when I dropped in. So that's
I think The Crew one's
hotness here.
The best co-op game for the year, and I think we snagged like the last few copies that you could get. So we have about 4 or 5 available. That's exactly right, Scott. Getting to the game store, get it shipped to your house or to your friends or your mother's or father's house or somewhere. Curbside delivery. That's a great way to keep our doors open. So when this thing is over, we'll still be around.
All right, should we talk about what we've been playing?
One other thing I was going to mention too is we do have a Facebook group out there for this podcast now too. So we have I think 50 people on it now, something like that. But I can
Are they all relative
double check for a number. They are not, but I did invite a good percentage of them when I first launched it. I think
26 of them 20. 26 of them are Scott A. Dell, Scott B. Dell, Scott C. Dell.
I mean, since I get on
once
Facebook,
he heard there's a free game involved, so he got on that.
So rarely. Peter, do you want to show us that on your screen? I made you a co-host.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm on 2 different machines here, so my
okay.
I can't do it on that one, but yeah, we've got.
So have we selected a winner for the first game?
We had 7 winners. Yep. So
All but
we
one
gave
have
away
picked them up already.
There's
Wow.
one left at Spielbound. There's one left at
Only
my house
one
as
for
well.
Michelle.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah, we've got one other one from my house still that the guy is supposed to pick it up later this week. I'm clicking on this
I
here
think
to
I
try to
played
see
that
how many
game.
members we have, but
It's pretty
I'm
fun.
not used to looking at Facebook on a computer. I've used my phone for so long. I'm not seeing where the members list is here for this. Oh, here it is.
Scott, what are you drinking?
We're at 60 members.
Hibiscus iced tea from Spielbound.
I'm drinking the strawberry rooibos from Spielbound. It is amazing.
And you're pretending to be a normal person.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeff, are you drinking something?
I have a Diet Coke from
There you go.
the grocer.
The grocer.
Yeah.
I need to grab a drink here. I'll have to do that when we take a break.
There you go.
I could have gotten a Diet Coke from Spielbound, but it didn't feel efficient to drive all the way to Spielbound from my house to get a Diet Coke.
No,
Which
probably
We
wouldn't
could
matter.
have given it out to you at the curb.
Oh, that's true. It would have been curbside. I wouldn't have to get out of my car. Maybe it would have been good.
A lot of people are like coming by, like, you guys have coffee? And they're like, every day, the same people come in the morning to get their coffee fixed. Mask on. It's like, okay, take the mask off. Okay, now they can function again.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I will say I am very ready. I'm an introvert by nature. And so for the first maybe 4 or 5 weeks of this pandemic, I was in my element, but I'm ready for some people time, some board game playing, and some
That's what this is, Jeff, right?
social. This doesn't count as much as I love seeing you all on Zoom.
If Jeff is saying that he's ready to get out of his house, then
Right.
you know that everyone's got to be tired by now.
Right. Now that being said, I'm
One and
happy to
3-year-old.
stay here as long as we need to be healthy. But once this is over, I will be ready for some game nights.
My 1 and 3-year-old turned 2 and 3 last week and this week, and yep, we're ready. Ready for daycare to be open again, which won't happen for a while.
Well,
Yeah,
I think it's easy to be an introvert when you're I'm a teacher, so it's super easy to be an introvert when all day you're surrounded by screaming teenagers. When you're not surrounded by screaming teenagers, you're like, oh, maybe people aren't the worst.
Yeah, no, we definitely hit a breaking point in our house where this Mother's Day we decided we would expand our circle from just the 4 of us to include my mother-in-law and father-in-law. So we went over there for Mother's Day, and then she was watching our daughter one day this week to give us a little bit of peace in the house. So the older daughter's fine; she's almost done with school. She'll go over there eventually as well. But yeah, we had to expand from 4 to 6.
And Scott,
Yeah. I think this is a good topic, I think, to talk about. And I think it's okay to talk about it. There was an article on Polygon, and they said it's okay not to be okay with tabletop gaming done via Zoom. And I think that kind of extends to digital. Like our last episode, we were pretty high on, Board Game Arena and a couple other avenues you can play games. And I'm sure we'll talk about stuff we've played via that. But I think it's okay to admit that, like, it sucks sometimes. Yeah. Like Peter and I played Scythe tonight on the Steam game, and like it just wasn't the same. I would have much rather been playing Scythe in person.
It feels a lot better in hand.
Yeah.
To play with in hand. Yeah.
And it's okay to acknowledge that and, say, okay, well, we're ready to, get back to Spielbound or our game groups or whatever. And, maybe for the first year after that, we'll appreciate being able to physically move pieces around.
Mm-hmm.
I love that a lot of people come in asking like, hey, I want a game that's fun to play with my partner that I'm stuck with. And then when we'll still want to play a few months from now with other people.
Yeah.
We made a whole list dedicated to that.
Yeah.
How do people find that? How do people find? Oh, okay.
I'll share it out to the Facebook group eventually. I need to finish my write-ups on the last about 5-6 games on it. So.
Caleb, in a couple weeks, you'll have people running in saying, I need a game that's fun to play with my partner when we're stuck together, and then that'll be fun to play solo in 6 months.
That's where Caleb says Overcooked.
Yeah.
Or Moving Out.
Couch co-ops.
Well, we played a deduction game on Friday.
On Board Game Arena?
We played Saboteur.
Oh, yes.
a bad game. And I think actually Board Game Arena that's a game that works pretty well on there.
Yeah. Yes. It doesn't suffer that much on Board Game Arena, especially if you're playing, during Zoom.
Right. Which is surprising because you would think that, a hidden identity game, you would want to be able to see people. But for some reason, that game works even if you can't see them, just because of the way that the game is constructed.
Well, if you're Zooming, you don't, it's a little easier to lie than in person, but.
Yeah.
So it was frustrating being the saboteur 2 out of the 3 times. And that's just like the sweet spot number of, the saboteur never won. So
yeah. Saboteur is a fun game to play. The score mechanism is broken. It's not necessarily a fun game to try to win.
Fair enough. Yeah, that was enjoyable.
Do we have anything else we want to highlight?
All the games we've been playing with 2 and 3-year-olds. Happy Bunny. Yeah.
52 card pickup.
Yeah.
Because I taught my family Wingspan and My Little Scythe. So we've done 2 different Stonemaier games so far. But
there you go.
They're the youngest one that's 5. She can't do Wingspan by herself, but she did My Little Scythe fairly well.
So we've been playing a lot of Terraforming Mars using
the 1 and 3-year-old.
No. So I got my wife to play it, and it was a big set because she didn't want to play anything electronic. And she started playing it with a few people, and she is just decimating all of us. And it is actually to the point where I'm like, okay, I think I'm done. until we can get some of the expansions in there to add some variety. I'm like, okay, I found all the different ways that you can lose to her. So, and I did also learn that if you do it where you do your turn and wait for the people to do their turn, that also is infuriatingly slow and frustrating. And that your 3-year-old can easily hit the button that's right next to start the game. A resume game is right next to the forfeit game. And the forfeit button is gone. 3 weeks of play, it's just done. I'm like, oh, okay.
All right, what are you going to do?
Complain about it on a podcast. That's what I'm
go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I was going to say I haven't played a whole bunch because I'm here. I have a roommate, but he and I really only play Gloomhaven together. So I've been playing some Gloomhaven, and he
moved in to not play Gloomhaven, or was that just a prerequisite?
Say that again.
Did he have a choice, or did he know he was going to have to play Gloomhaven when he moved in?
We discussed it.
It was in the roommate agreement.
It was. But the hobby that I have picked up,
you have to warm hugs and play Gloomhaven. Okay.
The solo hobby that I have picked up is cross stitching. So I'm currently cross stitching the Survivor logo, which is not a board game. It feels tactical.
There's a board game of it.
There is a Survivor board game. But that's what I'm doing a lot of. Sitting at my
prior life podcasts.
Yeah, I'm sitting at my computer cross stitching and watching movies and top 10 lists and things like that. So thinking about all the board games that I could be playing if I lived with family members.
There you go. Well, I do want to highlight that Humble Bundle since it is still going on. It's going on for another 8 days, 15 hours, which means people will still have a chance to get it. If you pay $1, you can get Small World 2, Carcassonne, Patchwork, King and Assassins, Love Letter, and Potion Explosion. And King and Assassins is the game I'm thinking of. It's a 5-player deduction game where one person is the king, one person is the assassin, and then you have 3 knights. So we should definitely play that on the podcast sometime because it would be fun.
I played that with the class at Creighton with the whole class. We had 5 volunteers come up front and did it, and it was a great time.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Knew who was who.
It's one of those games that you need to play 4 or 5 times in a row to really figure it out.
Yeah.
Then if you pay a little bit more money, you can get Splendor, Mysterium, Twilight Struggle. And then finally, for $12, you get Scythe, Lord of the Rings, adventure card game, and a bunch of expansions for previously mentioned games. So I thought I'd throw that out there.
It's actually a pretty awesome deal. Yeah.
Yeah, for $1, you can get Small World 2 and Patchwork. And, you can get the Android or the Apple version of Patchwork, and you can get, Love Letter and a couple other.
Well, it's not Android. This is just Steam. So it's Windows or Apple.
Oh, is it? They won't let you get that?
It's all Steam.
Oh.
Nope, doesn't work for Android.
No,
I will say the Patchwork port is very good, but the hard AI is,
Do they cheat?
I don't know. They're unbeatable. I've played so many games.
I eventually got it down, but it took me a long time. I got creamed by the hard AI for at least 15, 20 plays before I finally figured out how to play.
Now we know where Deep Blue has been playing Patchwork.
Yeah.
Who knew we were going to talk about hardcore Patchwork players?
Those buttons. It's all about those buttons.
Yeah, doing the math to figure out how much coverage you get, and you do have to crunch math if you want to beat the hard AI.
And then there's some luck in, like, I just always feel like the hard AI gets the luckiest turns.
Yeah. Well, that's what we want to have on Board Game Arena, is that the person who has the super premium member gets a little bit better luck. Their rolls are a little better.
Oh.
Which is what happened with CJ and Peter when we played Stone Age. They were accusing me. They're like, I don't understand how you roll so well.
Except I'm premium on there too, and I think I had 5 times as many ones as everyone else in the game.
No, it's just confirmation bias. You only point out that I roll well when I roll well. But you do roll poorly, Peter. You had a bunch of ones.
Especially digitally.
I think my first 8 rolls I had 6 ones. So
it'd be nice if they give you that stat at the end about your average roll or whatever.
What your roll distribution is. That would be fantastic to keep. Like, here's proof. Dice hate me.
Yes.
You can have a company named after it.
Which is one of the reasons I don't love Dice Forge.
Yeah, at least in Dice Forge, though, you do get to roll several times. So I understand where you're coming from, but you roll those dice enough that they do usually hit.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else that I've been playing recently that I wanted to highlight, but Terra Mystica is still a good game. Clans of Caledonia is still a good game.
Thank you for putting it with me, learning how to play that again, since it's been like 2 years.
Yeah, it's
I got to witness some of that game, and Caleb had a nice poor Jennifer incident, which we won't go into, but it was pretty funny.
I'm sorry, poor Jennifer incident?
I came back, and why is everyone crying with laughter? Like, what's so funny? What's the joke that I missed?
We don't have to tell that one.
Apparently, the live mic was on when I left the room.
Apparently, if you know what poor Jennifer means, you already know what happened. All right.
Yeah.
Good. And there's a game I'm looking forward to playing, For Glory, which I got sort of a preview copy and to play with my wife. And my wife is like, "Nah, I don't want to play any games with just you."
For the honor of Grayskull.
So I'm waiting for the solo version to magically appear someday so I can play it and then give it back to Alex.
Yeah, I've not played his latest version of that, but he's been developing that for years at Spielbound. And
this has
had a really nice Kickstarter for it.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kickstarter, I'll have to congratulate Isaac Childress and Marcus too for Frosthaven took over the spot for #1 board game of all time on Kickstarter.
I think it's because they announced Marcus as a guest designer that happened.
Or maybe even because we had him on here. That may have
he got the Spielcast bump.
The final total, 13 million almost. Oh my gosh.
Third highest Kickstarter ever, highest board game Kickstarter ever.
So I love the game and love Marcus, and Isaac is clearly brilliant with this property, but economically, this seems really like a bad move. Like, if you're going to make $13 million in Kickstarter, you don't need to lose 10 to 20% by doing it through Kickstarter. Like, that point you could, anyway. But I'm looking forward to it all the same.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would think that's probably going to be the last one that'll go on Kickstarter. But who knows? I mean, I think he can just print money kind of like Stonemaier does now. With no matter what the game is, he's got 10,000 copies sold immediately from the.
Ollie found a copy of Gloomhaven in our basement because we moved all the basement games out of the Spielbound. And
is it? Oh, it's the curse copy that we put in the corner. No one should touch that one.
And it lasted a whole day before it was sold.
So, I heard minutes.
Like, okay. At least somebody didn't buy it online and ask for it to be shipped, because that would have been a major steal at that point.
Yeah. Anything else we want to highlight?
I think
do we want to
Asmodee prices kicked in at May 1st, so they went up, and I know Bryce had talked about this a lot. So a lot of their flagship games like Catan and Pandemic, which we can't even get, all went up $5 each. So happy Pandemic pricing for you.
Terra Mystica ended up going over to Capstone, I saw. So that's also interesting. They're going to print it out exactly as it is today, so it's not a reason to buy it again. But
so I bring that up because Patchwork is one of those games that also went up in price. So it's almost $35 or $40, but they have a new American Quilt version that comes out for $20 later this year. So it's like, all right, guys, pick a price.
Is that going to be the full size Patchwork, or is it going to be American Quilt? It's the same as the what was the smaller Patchwork
Who
version?
knows? All I know is that.
I mean, that's a lot of inside baseball, but
Totally.
What you're talking about, Caleb, is there's one giant company who, for a while, was acquiring either the rights to games or just game licenses and consolidating them. And then, what happens when one company starts to acquire everything? Prices go up.
Yep. But you talked about their Humble Bundle, and it's like that's the same company. And a lot of those games they actually don't own the physical properties of, but they're taking over the digital space. And yeah.
And Peter and I just played the Scythe right before we recorded this, and I'm not impressed with the video game of Scythe. Like, my comment to Peter was, I wish it was on Board Game Arena because it's just there's some glitches and bugs and some
Yeah, there's a lot of things they do that are unintuitive, like moving your resources around should happen by default. You should have to choose not to move them if you want to, if you want to leave them. You normally, should just decide, if I'm going to move somebody from this space, it's going to move them. But I can understand it'd be hard to code for because you may want to split them up. You may want to do other things. But most of the time, if you're emptying a space, just assume they're coming with you.
So
go ahead.
I'm looking forward to playing that. But on the digital side, last thing I wanted to talk about was that I clearly have to buy a Switch one of these years if I can get my hands on one, just so I can play Wingspan. So.
Yeah, I have not tried it on Switch yet. I did see they're releasing it there. Is it out now?
Not yet, but the fact that that's like...
I love you, Caleb. Not Mario, not Zelda, not Mario Maker, not Smash Brothers, not Mario Kart, not Animal Crossing.
I'd probably play all of those too.
Wingspan.
But, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, not
Mario
Kirby,
Maker
not
is,
Luigi's Mansion, not... all these games that your wife and kids would love.
And so that was sort of a lead-in because... Wingspan was our game, Spielcast Game of the Year for 2019. It won all of the major awards on Board Game Geek, and too many awards, actually, in my opinion. It won like Best Family Game, Best Strategy Game, Best Card Game, Best Innovative Game.
I saw there was some controversy surrounding
that. It's a bit ridiculous, and they'll have to revisit how those categories are decided because it clearly is by far the most popular game of the year. But all those different categories are like, I don't know about that.
2019 would have been a really easy year to win Best Card Game.
Well, I mean, and it won game.
It won Best Card Game too.
That's what I'm saying.
Maracaibo came in second, I think.
If it won everything, then there wasn't a lot of other good stuff out, which we talked about.
Well,
there's just good games.
Yeah, there's plenty of other good games. The problem is they don't have anything preventing a game from being nominated from an area. So if enough people say this is going into the card game race, then it got in. So yeah, they're going to have to start, limiting what can get in there and what can't, and what the definitions of each one are. Elizabeth Hargrave, the designer, had a nice long post about it. She was getting some attack. So if you look at her Twitter,
it's not my fault.
And she was trying hard not to run down BGG, but she's saying, look, the way things are,
yep.
Yeah, if don't yell at me, yell at the system.
Yeah.
I sent them both a personal congratulations on it because, I could tell they needed some love. They were both getting frustrated.
Yeah. Well, that being said, the Gamma, which is really last of in the weeds, came out with their top 5 games nominated for 2019.
Yeah.
And guess what game was not on that list?
Wingspan.
So I'm like, what's going on? Game retailers that I know it was hard for us to get copies, but still, I thought it was crazy that it wasn't in the top 5 listed. So, yeah.
Was Maracaibo on it?
No, it was not. I think the heaviest game that was on that was Quacks of Quedlinburg.
Yeah, was that and Tiny Towns, I think, were the two you were looking at.
Yeah, Quacks isn't that heavy. It's pretty light.
No, it's not that heavy. That's what...
Yeah.
Not Tiny Towns light, but...
Did Quacks win Spiel or...
Yes.
Kenner Spiel.
2
years ago.
Wow.
The same award that Wingspan won last year. So
I could see that. That feels like a game that might actually benefit from a digital version.
Yeah. Get Pete's dice roll luck of drawing things out of a bag.
Yeah.
I could use some of that. I feel like my fingers always just push those white pieces exactly where I need to, and they get stuck on my fingernails. Like I pull them up every time. Like, come on.
Yeah, I just recently stuck all of mine into the little nickel case holders, and man, that took a while. And I didn't realize how many bits there are for that game. And as I'm doing this, I ran out of my first batch of holders. And then it occurred to me, yeah, you know what? It would have been like $5 more just to buy the ones that BGG sells. So
that's what Jeff did for Altiplano.
It was. Now looking back, that's what I should have done. So if anyone's debating upgrading it, that's how. Yeah, Caleb's got them right there.
BGG Pro Deluxe bits. These things are fantastic. I got them just in time for the pandemic, so I haven't played them with them yet. But like that beautiful plastic purple.
Yeah, I am ready.
Stuck in the corners of your bag.
I'm ready to play
or
games
your
in person again.
fingernails. So
I'm ready to play games in person again.
me too.
All right, this episode has eclipsed its length.
Yeah. So one last thing before we drop off of this one too.
Oh, it's a wonder, Pete. Go with it.
Yeah, 7 of them. No, we had a nice shout out from Jordan Hopper on the No Cube Zone. So I want to return the favor for any of our listeners that are into more of the thematic games. That's kind of where they started out. They do touch some other ones that are more Euro-ish too, but
what was the name of the podcast again?
It's the No Cube Zone.
No Cube Zone.
Yeah, it looks like the Twilight Zone logo, but anyways, they've got some of the Wisdom for Wizards guys from down in Missouri and Jordan here. So yeah, I just thought I'd give them a mention since they
like dice as well
for us. Yeah, they do. They like dice, which but yeah, I was confused actually when they first put it out whether it was a Euro themed one that was no dice or anti-Euro, which was no wooden cubes. So
you're like,
sometimes I want to push cubes around a table, and sometimes I don't.
I think every game should have the Shogun mechanism where you take all your cubes and you drop them into a big tower.
Cube tower.
Have a few fall through. And like,
well, there's 3 or 4 of those games that have that now.
The description is, in a world oversaturated by crunchy and dreary Euro board games, one podcast show takes a stand.
Okay.
That's what I've been trying to do here, but turns out when you just say Gloomhaven.
Well, let's have a theme heavy Ameritrash segment called Jeff Presents.
And it'll just be me talking about Gloomhaven for an hour.
Which is a Euro.
I've got plenty of those over here too.
Yeah. I mean, I've been saying every night we play on Zoom, I'm like, I wish we could play, Battlestar Galactica. How fun would that be?
That would be fantastic.
All right. We'll see you guys on the other side.
The Spielcast is recorded at Spielbound Board Game Cafe in Omaha, Nebraska. You can reach us at spielcast@spielbound.org, or you can always tweet at us at Spielbound with the hashtag Spielcast. Subscribe to us wherever you listen to your podcasts, and as always, please give us a 5-star rating. Thanks for listening.